You have here on this university, and I just met with him, is, of course, someone I've known for some years, Ambassador Chris Hill, a far better source than mine on the difficulties faced by those heading our delegation to six-party talks. Parts of these two books provide versions of those difficulties. I'm neither a Republican nor a Democrat, so I'm not undertaking a tardy attack on a former president. But the U.S. ambassador in Seoul wrote that he was appalled when he heard his president make the axis of evil statement about North Korea. He said Koreans simply wondered why such a statement would be made if we wished indeed to engage North Korea. Another former U.S. ambassador opined that this was a classic case study in how not to conduct foreign policy. However one views these opinions, they reveal the internal divisions on how to deal with perfidious and oppressive Pyongyang and the frustrations of the task that fell first to Jim Kelly, as I said, an old friend of mine, who I offered much advice that he probably didn't want to get, and then to Ambassador Hill, who it seemed to me deserved a far better outcome than has come about. In 2006, Kim Jong-il went to China again. The rest of the year had some pleasant and unpleasant surprises. Some of you may remember the ballistic missile test in July. Sam, notice this cute little PowerPoint trick. This was the North Korean nuclear test. Remember, it fizzled. That was 2006. These were the six-party talks in Beijing. These are some pictures from round 5. Thank you. Some pictures from round 5 of the 6 rounds of talks held so far in Beijing. And so there's one thing you can't accuse the Chinese of, and that's losing interest. They've kept at it. Then I asked some people that I know well. About the relationship between China and North Korea after the nuclear test. Interestingly, they said, well, you've long heard us say blood brothers and closest lips to teeth. Well, the new word is friendship. Beijing said it was angry because it gave Japan an excuse to go nuclear. And as to unification, the Chinese were now saying they preferred the status quo to retain stability, but they could not appear to be impeding unification. They did not want to be seen in history as the country that had kept the Korean Peninsula from getting back together. Another trick, Sam, on my nuclear test there. North Korea caused great consternation in China, the U.S., and elsewhere with its May 2009 nuclear detonation. By the way, it was similar in magnitude to the Hiroshima bomb, so it didn't fizzle. And here are China's reactions to this second test. They were exasperated. They had warned the North Koreans not to do it, and the North Koreans did it and then left the talks. They were troubled anew about Japan, the ROK, and now more troubled about Taiwan developing nuclear weapons. They were prepared to take sterner measures, but they were not prepared to go as far as the Americans and others wished to go, because they feared it would push North Korea into an unstable situation. Beijing kind of wanted its cake and wanted to eat it too. And there are a lot of people who say, well, these are fine, but they'll never pull it all off. Well, they're still plugging. The Obama administration in 2009 began to get advice from hardliners and softliners. The hardliners said, give up, six-party talks are dead, North Korea said so. What's more, North Korea doesn't live up to its commitments no matter what they tell you. The softliners said, don't give up hope, there are untried incentives, neither the North Koreans nor the U.S. have lived up to their commitments. So that's the kind of thing that was going on there. So then I made my entry into the scene. You can imagine how important that was. In November 2009, I spoke and lectured in 3 cities in China on the prospects of U.S. PRC maritime cooperation, and on the role of Korea in U.S.-China relations. One remarkable stop, given the constraints imposed by the Chinese Communist Party on media coverage of the North Korean issues in China, was to give a lecture at a university here, that upper left-hand picture, near the North Korean border, Yenbian Dashue. I then asked to eat at, I then asked to eat at a North Korean restaurant, and after dinner there were these singers and dancers who came out, and so I then gave them a bouquet of flowers. Well, for one thing, I think I was the only American who had been to this North Korean restaurant, though it's in China. However, those women didn't know what was coming, and you could see on their face they were terror-stricken. But anyway, the great white goblin did not get them, and but I got a lesson in U.S.-North Korean relations. Then there was the sinking of the ROK Navy corvette, and of course, it's virtually certain that the North Koreans did it with a submarine. But when you look into it, things get a little more complicated. These three corvettes were routinely patrolling, but they were in disputed waters. And so the submarine came out, and this is the result of that. It cut that corvette in half. But notice the thing that the news did not make any play of. 4 months earlier, a North Korean ship had come south of that line and was fired on and retreated in flames. You can't help but wonder, was this considered by the North Koreans as retaliation? Now, I'm not excusing it on that basis. I'm saying, but does it give it a slightly different light? If you're looking for opportunities to talk to somebody about something, is there an opportunity here to at least hear them out and say, let's hear your side of the story? So it's an unpopular view, but that's what you're going to hear some of in the next few minutes.